If you invested $10,000 in Nike stock 10 years ago, you would have $48,150 today. An impressive return considering this is essentially an apparel company, right? It's not some incredible growth stock. So, in other words, if you invested $10,000 in Nike stock, you would have gotten a 381.5% total return in this last decade. So, how did Nike get here? How did it deliver this kind of performance? I'm going to talk about that in this video. And as a bonus, I'm also going to answer if you buy Nike stock today, can you expect a similar return over the next decade? Or, in other words, is it too late to buy Nike stock right now? So, let's get into the details. So, looking at this chart of Nike's revenue growth over the last decade, we begin to see why the stock price has moved up so nicely. It's consistently delivered revenue growth over the last decade, save for the brief time during the pandemic, the initial onset of the pandemic when revenue fell by 40% at the lowest point in one quarter. However, look at the bounce back, right? It fell by 40%, but then it bounced back at a growth rate over 90, 80 something percent in one quarter. So, and the bounce back has been stronger than the fall was. And look at this, in the most recent quarter, Nike grew revenue at 17.24%, much higher than its long run average growth rate going back in this last decade. Now, Nike has a strong presence in China. It's got a lot of stores, a lot of online sales in China. So the Chinese economy is reopening in 2023, and that's providing Nike a tailwind for this current year. Another factor that has had Nike soaring over this last decade is its profitability. Look at the net income over the trailing 12 months going back to 2013. Look how it's risen from the level around 2 billion all the way up near 6 billion for a little while, and now down to 5.63 billion as of its most recent update. But we could see a nice upward trend if I was to draw a line here from 2013 all the way till 2023. You could see a nice upward trend with some volatile periods in between, of course. One of the factors that has had Nike's profits increasing over these last years is Nike's move away from wholesale partners. Nike's been emphasizing its digital direct to consumer channels, right? It's Nike online channel, the Nike app, Nike stores, trying to reach consumers directly instead of going to consumers through third-party wholesalers like Foot Locker or Macy's and companies like that, right? And that's important because if Nike sells you a pair of shoes through Foot Locker, Nike earns a lower profit margin from those sales, right? Because Nike has to sell those shoes to Foot Locker at wholesale prices, which provides Nike with lower profit margins. If Nike can skip over Foot Locker and go direct to consumer, that means Nike can sell more of its products at closer to full price, which turns into higher profit margins for Nike. And you could see here the result has been growing profits for Nike. Now, not every retailer, not every brand can do this, right? Brands typically need these third parties like Macy's and Foot Locker and others because they expand the distribution network and they reach more customers. Typically, brands are not strong enough to have that kind of awareness and loyalty from consumers to just go straight and access consumers directly without the need for so many third parties. Nike has that brand power. Nike is that recognizable among athletes, right? So it's a unique company, and that uniqueness has allowed it to boost its profits and in turn has allowed the stock price to soar over the last decade. So is it too late for stock investors to buy Nike stock and expect something similar over the next decade? I want to thank the Motley Fool for sponsoring this video. Visit fool.com/parkev for the 10 best stocks to buy now. Let's look at the valuation to answer that question. Nike's trading at a forward price to earnings of 38.34, which is near the most expensive it's been going back to January of 2022. It's about like the highest it's been going back over this last year. So I would say if you're looking to invest in Nike stock for the next decade, I would wait a little while. I would wait for a better entry point to get into Nike stock at a more favorable valuation before you dig in and buy the stock to hold it for the next decade. Now, if you want to know and get updates on when would be a good entry point, I follow Nike stock closely and I offer several videos every quarter when Nike makes any updates, when there's any big changes. So if you subscribe, follow my channel, I'll provide updates. I'll let you know just when it's an excellent opportunity to jump into Nike stock for the next decade. All right, so this is all I've got for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and you're probably seeing some videos come up. I think you'll enjoy any of these, so click on one of these videos that are popping up on your screen, and I'll see you over there.